This is an IRLP tutorial on how to run the IRLP Node Troubleshooting script. So if you find yourself with a node that won't authenticate or does some weird things when you try to make calls or only has one-way audio or a variety of other things, IRLP has designed a troubleshoot script to help figure out what the problem is. So under the main website, there's the owner's FAQ. And in there is the troubleshooting script. So it just this is just a web page that describes essentially what all the various tests do. It also tells you how to actually run it. So I'll look at the first few lines here. So we want to log in. I'm actually going to do it on two different nodes, one that I know is working right and one that I know is not. So su minus repeater, just following the instructions on the website. And then I want you to make sure you've got the latest version of the update or of the troubleshooting script by updating the files on the node. And then it wants you to run the troubleshooting script. Troubleshoot-IRLP. So the first thing it does is it will tell you that the node is enabled and that you have to or it'll disable the node as it runs through. So I'm just going to show you on two different nodes how it works here. So it just, the first thing it does, it explains all the different tests that it's going to do. First test it does, it just checks to make sure that your DNS is set correctly. So if this one fails, you can just go here under test number 1, DNS test, and it talks about some different ways that you can try to fix this one. So number 2, the port forwarding test. This is the one that most commonly fails on nodes because of the port forwarding being broken. And you'll see the two different responses that you get. I know that this node is correct, and I know that this node down here does not have the ports forwarded correctly. So you can see already we have TCP and UDP errors on this one. It's trying to test all the outbound ports. They seem to work fine quickly on that, but not as fast on this one. So if you do get an error here, the first thing you need to look at is your router or your internet connection is blocking ports that are required for IRLP to work. There is some discussion in here about the Echolink ports and that you can ignore them if you're not actually running Echo IRLP. There's also some ideas of ways that you can help fix the issues, and as well as looking at what your IP address is and making sure that the port forwarding in your router points to that. Let's go on to the next test here. Just checking your host name. Again, any failure in any of these tests, you can just look to the web page for some help. So these tests, 5, 6, 7, and 8, these are another commonly failed test. This is where if the PGP key that you have in your node is no longer valid, or it's the wrong key compared to the one that's in the network, this one will catch that error. Often if you're having authentication errors, or if your node's been offline for a number of years and then you came back, you may find that one of these is the problem. Again, it gives you ideas about how to fix it and how to look for various different things in the web page. The next one is the date correctness test. You want to make sure that the current date set to and what the server thinks the date is about the same. If it's way off, like by a number of years, things like OpenVPN and the PGP authentication won't work. Quite often where you'll see a problem here is if the DNS is not set correctly on a Raspberry Pi node, it has no way of knowing what the time and date is. Raspberry Pis don't have a hardware clock. Therefore, they don't keep the current time, and what happens is they'll start at what they call the epoch of January 1st, 1970. So if you see that date here, you'll know right away that there's a problem with your internet connection or your DNS, which is server test number 1, and that's what's probably causing the authentication errors. Here's another one that we often get false positives on, the environment file corruption test. So these ones both fail this test just because it's showing there's an Echo IRLP installation as well as the features directory, which comes along with PyRLP and embedded nodes. And so you can ignore those two on those types of nodes, but you'll often see like one words or little things that are kind of weird in here that shouldn't be there. That can kind of point to you that you might have a problem in your environment file, which will cause the node to fail. Just checking if the temp directory is writable, and the last test is it just has a look at the custom decode file. And then after it's done, it'll re-enable your node so that it can be used again. So that's the troubleshooting script in a nutshell. And if you do run into a problem that you can't seem to solve here, you can always create a trouble ticket with installs@irlp.net by email. And inside that email, make sure to include your call sign, your node number, as well as any information that we may need to be able to log into your node. So if your SSH is on a special port, and we'll also need your password to be able to help you troubleshoot the node. That's about it for the troubleshooting script. If you have any additional questions, please put some comments on the video and I will try to answer them as best I can. Thank you.